Whether you're new to live streaming or streaming of any kind, chances are you've probably run across this product called the Stream Deck. Now, the Stream Deck from Elgato has been slowly improving both in the number of physical Stream Decks that are available, but also the software behind it. In this latest release, 7.0, they've included something that's really cool, I think at least. It's called Virtual Stream Deck, and I wanted to show you how I use it and how you might be able to take advantage of it as well when you're using Ecamm. So let's first start by going into live demo mode. So I'll go over in the Ecamm here, and I'll start my live demo just like that. Pretty cool. Now, how did I do that? I didn't touch anything. I didn't touch any physical buttons here. I pulled up my keyboard alternate for my Stream Deck here, my virtual Stream Deck, and I said, start live demo mode. This also allows me to do other things here. So let's get out of live demo mode real quick again, and I will show you. I'm back here. Now, if I pull up the Stream Deck software, the virtual Stream Deck, it's right in front of me. I'm looking right at it right now, but I also happen to be looking at the camera, and I can change scenes like this just by looking right into my teleprompter. So I don't need to reach for anything. I don't need to use the buttons or the pedals. I don't even know where my pedals are, but I don't have to stomp on pedals or anything like that. I've got full access to all my controls. This includes things like lighting. I can call up my Amaran lights and just change the lights right here, right when I'm talking to you. And it's a heads-up display that's right over my camera right now. So this is pretty cool, I think at least. So let's go. We're in red alert mode right now, so we probably should change that. But let's get back into live demo mode, shall we? And we can play around with that here. So we'll start live demo. Let me show you what I was doing here. So here's my virtual Stream Deck. And notice it popped up right over my head. It's wherever my mouse is. You can set this to be in a fixed location, or you can set it to be wherever your mouse is. So let's go back and change our lights to let's say orange to blue. That'll be what we had going before. There we go. And notice that was a folder that's embedded. You can have folders right in your virtual Stream Deck, which is pretty cool. But I've got my Ecamm commands here. I can go into preview mode if I want to. I can, of course, end live demo mode here. I can jump between scenes, which is pretty cool. So if I could do this, and if I'm looking at the monitor here, it's going to just change like this. But obviously, since we're in live demo mode, the illusion is kind of lost a little bit. And you're like, okay, that's great, but your interface is already kind of, cluttered. You got a lot going on here, and that's true. I do. So you can configure the Stream Deck to disappear. It doesn't have to be as large as I have mine right now. You can also have it in any configuration up to 8x8, so columns and rows. That makes it pretty easy to set it up and tailor it to whatever needs you may have. So if I wanted this to be more of a horizontal aspect ratio, I could get rid of that bottom row here, or these two, and I could put those buttons over here if I wanted to. It's completely up to you. So that's one way to use it. And I think it's a little bit misunderstood by some people out there because they think, I don't need buttons on my screen. I already got too much stuff on my screen. And I get it. I totally get it. But if you use it right, it ends up enhancing your physical Stream Deck by having quick access to things, or like I was saying, putting it up and on your teleprompter and then having those buttons right in front of you so you just can click them right away. That's pretty cool. The other thing is if you're traveling, let's go into live demo mode again, or get out of live demo mode. Sorry. We'll do that. And we're going to come back in. There we go. And let's talk about other ways you can use it. One way would be if you're on the road. If you travel a lot with your laptop and you're doing streaming or remote productions off-site somewhere, having your virtual Stream Deck on the screen versus having to lug around, let's say you have a Stream Deck XL, wouldn't have to worry about that. You could just bring up your virtual Stream Deck. If you're one of those people that likes to load up their luggage with gadgets and things like that, then by all means, be my guest. Have fun with it. But the virtual Stream Deck is good for road warriors too. But there's another way that you can use this that I think is way better, especially for your remote producers. Let me take you into my scene that I've got with the church that is about an hour drive away. So here we are. We've got Ecamm running inside this product called Splashtop Desktop. And I've got two cameras in here. in this church. I also have a control bar for my soundboard that's on site. And then I've obviously got some PTZ controls set up here for Ecamm. I'll get rid of those for the moment. And you can see, just the standard Ecamm interface. But what's cool is that now I can pull up my virtual Stream Deck here. And if I want to pull up a preset location for my camera, I can do that. And it'll take me right there. Pretty cool. Now, what's nice about this is, honestly, you have ways to access these buttons. These are Sony Visca commands, so they're sending commands to the PTZ cameras, the pan, tilt, zoom cameras inside the church. I used to use a product called Companion Cloud, and that was in kind of like a perpetual beta, and I think it's being sunsetted, or at the very minimum, they're not allowing new people to come in. So I no longer can recommend that product for virtual live streamers or remote live streamers. So in this case, what I would recommend is to use the virtual desktop. So let's go back into that scene and we'll take a look here. So you can see here, you've got all the camera controls. You can tap and move my cameras here. And you notice that the camera controls are a little bit rough, right? They move quite a few steps. This is where using both the preset controls, the Sony Visca controls, and then also Ecamm's controls comes in really, really handy. So now I can just tap an Ecamm and it moves ever so slightly. Oh, I'm on the center camera. Let's do that. Whoops. There we go. See, notice it's not as jumpy. And you can control your pan tilt speed. So if I want to drag this way down and tap, see, it's so granular that way. So it makes it really easy to make micro adjustments instead of having to use the bigger adjustments in the presets. One of the great things about utilizing the virtual desktop here is that I can also have my Ecamm scenes in here. And remember, we can use folders just like I was showing before. So if I wanted to put my Ecamm scenes into a folder and pull those up that way, I would. But this is more of like a quick access thing for me. So I can go into my test pattern here, my opening, right? And then I have these kind of organized in a way that I would normally use them. So it would, I just kind of step through the course of the show. So my run of show is kind of this way. And I'm actually thinking about populating the center one too, just in case. But I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do that just yet. But in any case, this is a cool way where if you want to configure things, let me show you real quick how to do that. You go right click and just choose configure, and you can see the buttons pop up here. If you go into the settings for the virtual Stream Deck, you've got a fixed option and a dynamic option. The dynamic is going to be the one where it pops up wherever your mouse is, your hotkey. And then for instance, I've got it set to auto high when I leave the interface. You could also have it set after an action is triggered. Either way, how many rows and columns. You could hide the unused keys. That looks a little wonky. Let me show you what that looks like. It's kind of, well, here, let me pull it up over here. You see, it's kind of hiding these keys here. I don't, somebody might be able to come up with some interesting looks for that, but yeah, I'd leave that off. And then key size and opacity. So if I wanted to, for instance, I could pull it up and make it very, very large, or I could have it super tiny like that. So depending upon your screen resolution, you might make some adjustments to that. But it is super easy to configure. And in my case, I will normally, if I'm like this, if I'm setting it up in such a way where it's dynamic, I'll just have it right around this kind of darker area here, and this allows me to pick. So for instance, I'll set my home to center start here, and you'll see triggers that, right? So it's so much easier to use when you're a remote producer like me, and you have these different scenes and cameras and things to control. You can just, as long as it has a button or a feature that you can access in the Stream Deck, it can show up inside the virtual Stream Deck interface. It's super easy. and it's really unobtrusive if you configure it correctly. I have heard some people say, why would I need that? And hopefully I've given you some ideas on why you might need that. And for me, it's great because if I can just look right into the camera and end this stream, that's what I'm going to do.